broad daylight, you're witnessing a surprise attack on a drug-infested neighborhood.
You got cuffs for him?
You got one.
You got cuffs?
Here, police officers from several surrounding counties are rounding up the people they consider to be Fuquay-Varinas dealers.
Back up off me. Got the little cracks in your socks, don't he?
The sweep and subsequent searches netted some crack cocaine,
160.
some money, and no surprises from the neighbors. But you were expecting a raid one of these days?
Yeah, everybody would.
Yeah, we got some of the main game players, ones we wanted to get.
What the police found in this raid could be found, they say, in any raid, in any neighborhood, in any part of the state.
You see the crowd here on your left now. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You notice they're just hanging.
It was just a week ago some of the same drug officers were targeting the small community of Holly Springs.
There's not a town in this county or a place or any place in this county that you can't go now and find crack cocaine. It's in every neighborhood.
Police officers tell us they spend almost all of their energy focusing on the crack cocaine problem, a problem they say they're losing ground to every day.
And we're trying to eliminate the problem by eliminating the drug dealers on the street here.
Officers realize even if they get these suspected drug dealers off the streets, there are still people out here who are just waiting to take their place. So, did today's raid make any dent in the drug problem?
I think it'll make a big difference. The impact will probably clear the streets for a while.
Just how long a while is no one's quite sure. They say they at least have to try.
We'll be back.
Lonnie Levitt, WTVD 11 News.
Somebody told the buck to get the hell out of their yard.
Get them all, get them all.
Somebody told the buck.
You might think that Aikido, loosely translated, means ouch. But that's not true. It means harmony of spirit, peace of mind. At first glance, it looks kind of like a square dancing class for sadists. Swing your partner around, then knock him into the floor. But this is a special class at the Martial Arts Center in Raleigh. The visiting teacher is one of the best in the world, Fumio Toyota.
Okay, you're supposed to come up to here. This group very sincere, serious, and even beginners. But this group, nobody drop out. That's a good thing.
The black belts, called senseis, wear black skirts. Rule number 1, don't call them black skirts. Rule number 2, bow a lot. Kind of like apologizing for what's going to come next.
We sometimes look at ourselves and go, this is strange.
Aikido is taught to North Carolina lawmen, but civilian students come from every spectrum of society. Most, when they start, are the shy type. Learn you don't need to be big to make a big impression.
A physical conflict to begin with. If we blend with it and try to help the attacker, then we both come out ahead. Sun Tzu said the goal in life isn't winning or losing, it's remaining undefeated.
Aikido tries to help students reach the heights of personal development.
That makes it a lot easier.
By the way, I hope you remembered rule number 1 about not calling the instructor's outfit a black skirt. Photographer Dave Wertheimer forgot. In Raleigh, Keith Whitney, WTVD 11 News.
Dave, I need you to get me some generic.
Okay. Has this ever happened to you?
Oh, Lord.
Innocently shooting your story when you encounter
Wait a minute, don't put me on TV. Hey, don't put me on TV.
the overly paranoid. Hey, yo, back up off me. As an aspiring photojournalist, I'd like to find out why.
It's not your business.
Why?
Please don't do that.
Why people are like this.
You are intruding on private people.
If help put a stop to this.
Don't get smart with me. I'm going to take a rest on you now.
Just place more than you can afford into a plain brown paper bag between the hours of 12:01 and 12:05 a.m. on odd Thursdays in the only phone booth in Bun Level. And help us find out why. Why this happens.
You're not taking my picture.
That's right.
It's graduation day. This will be one of the last times these trainees line up.
Well, it looks like today is it. We've been waiting for it for a long time. It's been long and it's been hard. It's been a little bit tougher than some of you thought.
No one will say it hasn't been tough.
So it looks like I owe you a handshake. For two. Hitch, touch.
These young men look and act a lot different than they did 90 days ago.
Safe Cracker, you got a problem with moving? You got a nervous problem, huh?
Flashback to August for intake day at Impact.
Get down!
Rules, regulations, mandatory haircuts were just some of the changes these young lawbreakers were forced to get used to in a hurry. Up before the sun, working throughout the studying at night, many but not all went through changes, physically and in their attitudes. This was Floyd Rogers on his second day of boot camp. This is him 90 days later, 68 pounds lighter.
Sir, I feel great, sir.
Don't do nothing that you told to do, you understand? Sir, yes, sir.
On this trainee's first day, he accidentally gulped down a cup of delousing shampoo. You're watching him as he tries to flush it out of his system. On this, his last day at boot camp, he carries a flag at the front of the line.
Well, son, I'm proud of it.
Richard Coble says this experience has changed him for the better, his father's.
I think he was at a point in his life that was either this or he was going to end up a lot worse. And by worse, either in jail or prison or dead.
The idea behind the boot camp program is to keep young lawbreakers out of prison, to turn them around through discipline and hard work. Do you think you're going to be able to stay out of trouble?
Yes, ma'am. No problem.
They've been told the easy part is over. What they've experienced here in the past 90 days is nothing compared to the challenges they'll see in the future. The success of the program will be by the choices they make after they leave.
Out of here. Yeah.
Lonnie Levitt, WTVD 11 News. A campfire, only a few blocks from the city lights. The homeless gathering around makeshift fires to keep warm or shielding themselves in the crevices. It's a common the temperatures plunge, but it's a sight due in part to the economy that is changing. The people who are out here each night huddling over the hot air vents are the new homeless, people who were living one paycheck away from being on the streets. They're the people who are out here now because of the layoffs, because they lost their jobs, or because they had jobs but just couldn't support a family or themselves on the money they were making. This man who just wants to be called Eddie fits into that category. He had a job, a home, but now suddenly finds himself among the masses on the street.
All they send you, and what they tell you, we just not hiring nothing. So,
It's tough out there.
It's tough, and that all you can do is just do the best you can and pray that something come along better.
He tells us with the shelters overflowing, food scarce, and jobs even scarcer, many of the homeless feel they have nowhere to turn and nothing to lose.
What else a man supposed to do?
The way some people are right now, they're homeless, they've been trapped so long that they have given up. They're just living from day to day.
38-year-old Reese Morris is in the same position. On the street, he's spending his day in the Wake County Jobs for the Homeless office, poring over the want ads, using their phones to follow up on leads.
My main concern now is finding a job.
A lot of the jobs don't pay enough for someone to to live on and to, be able to afford housing and the other things that they need.
It's a frustrating situation and a vicious cycle, but there are people out there like Eddie who are determined to beat the system that keeps pushing them down.
Like I say, this too, it shall pass.
For Night Watch, Lonnie Levitt, WTVD 11 News.
They prepared for the worst.
That's where your problems will come from, Rick, because they want to pick up what they could have done now.
In 75 officers, some on horseback, some with bomb-sniffing dogs, the FBI, the SBI, the entire Wilson Police Department, all out to make sure a potentially volatile situation.
They call us a hate group! A hate group! Where do you see the hate today? You ain't got no love for nobody!
Didn't get out of hand. Police searched every spectator before allowing anyone within distance of the Klansmen.
We will rock you up! Rock you up!
Personally, I don't like the whole thing because the situation's stupid to me, and I don't think it should be going on.
It's time to grow up and be a nation again. We've got wars all over the world. We don't need to fight them here in our own country.
The issue is that they're proud to be white and they're proud to love God, and that's their way of thinking that they serve God.
That's right. And if he didn't, he made a black to be married black and to marry white.
The Klansmen left without incident. In Wilson, Amy Green, WECT News Center.
Wilson police weren't taking any chances. 175 officers were on hand to make sure that the Klan march wouldn't get out of hand. Spectators were searched, some weapons were confiscated. People lined the streets of downtown. Some came to cheer, many came out of simple curiosity.
Well, it's a new experience. It's always on TV, but never in person. It's always just something to see, basically.
What the crowd saw was a group of about 50 KKK members, men, women, and children. They carried a David Duke for President banner and a message of white unity.
They call us a hate group! A hate group! Where do you see the hate today?
The Columbus is a new era with more cross-lightings than ever before. Most of what the speakers had to say could hardly be heard, though, by the crowd, which was kept at a distance by the police. The Klan calls this recruiting, but most of the people here in the crowd call it something else. Many of the spectators carried protest signs and seemed disturbed that something like this still happens.
I feel it's a real sad situation to see something going on like this here, because I love all people, and I think, this is something that shouldn't have been allowed to happen.
But the KKK also had a share of supporters.
The issue is that they're proud to be white and they're proud to love God, and that's their way of thinking that they serve God.
The rally ended without any major incidents, and the Klan exercised its right to free speech. Though it was a message that most people weren't happy to hear. In Wilson, Russ Reisinger, WTVD 11 News. The streets of downtown Wilson packed with spectators for the rally. Some came to jeer, some to challenge, some even offered support for the KKK, but most just came out of curiosity, like Lois and Bob Brown, who moved to Wilson 3 months ago from the West Coast.
Little town, we retired back here and it's quiet and peaceful, and then I think, God, this is a trip.
And it was a somewhat curious spectacle. About 50 KKK members, men, women, and even children marching down the streets and then assembling on the steps of the county. This was, in a sense, a campaign rally for David Duke, the newfound hero of at least this group. Besides advocating David Duke for president, speakers for the Klan, including the National Imperial Wizard, promised a new era for the KKK with more cross-lightings than ever before. And while Klan members shouted their familiar message of white unity, many people decided the only answer was to shout back.
It was nice nonsense, really. Shouldn't be going on. Pathetic.
And most of the crowd, both black and white, seemed to share that feeling. For Lois Brown and others, the experience of seeing the Klan in person was both surprising and disturbing.
We're in the 90s. This is not back during the Civil War and during the Depression and all that kind of stuff. It's time to grow up and be a nation again. We've got wars all over the world. We don't need to fight them here in our own country.
In Wilson, Russ Reisinger, WTVD 11 News.
Yellow Scirocco.
Saturday night in Chapel Hill finds this grocery store bustling, a constant procession of people.
You got a dark colored car, David Tom Sam 9583, just leaving with a case of Bud.
We're hiding in an undercover alcohol law enforcement van, watching as customers carry out bags, boxes, and arms full of beer.
Oh man, look at that. 31. Okay. There's a guy just came out. I mean, he's real young, even younger than what you got, getting ready to get into a yellow car.
Senior ALE officer David Wooten is the lookout.
What I look for is someone that appears to be really youthful.
In the van, it's his job to pinpoint the beer-buying customers who look like they're under 21. And on this night, there appears to be plenty of them.
You ain't kidding.
A carload of young-looking customers pulls up next to the undercover van, never suspecting for a moment they're about to get caught. The beer buyer for the group, an 18-year-old, even waves to the beer as he makes his way to the beer aisle.
Got a 12-pack of Bush, a 6-pack of something else, got a long trench coat.
Wooten in the van tips off officers in another car. We join in on the short-lived chase.
Step out for me, buddy.
He has an ID, but after careful questioning, he admits it's his brother's.
Let me see your real ID.
I do not have a real ID.
You don't have a real ID?
I really don't.
Take your hands out your pocket for me. How about turning your pockets inside out for me?
Officers will seize the beer for evidence. As for 18-year-old Sean Epstein, he'll receive citations for purchasing the beer and for using a fraudulent ID.
I don't know, they're pretty cool dudes. They have to do what they have to do, and I did what I thought I had to do, and so I paid the price.
While he may not seem very remorseful, ALE officers say he's the exception and insist this type of work is effective.
Personally, I feel like it's very important. Underage people, they'll get the alcohol. Usually when they get it, they tend to drink in excess. If they get behind a steering wheel, car, or vehicle, it's like a 2-ton bullet. I mean, it's a deadly weapon.
Second road, kind of meters down.
It was a hard trip as far as from the War Department and all that. Any service member support and support for people back home was just incredible.
Well, it's a lot nicer now that I've got my son Andrew here with me. I know I'm headed home. Sort of like Christmas when I was a kid. Going on that special vacation to the beach.
You know, you were on the first one. It's fitting that you get to go and ride with Greg on the last one. And that's first and last on this ship. When we were first called together as a commissioning crew, we came from all over the fleet, you know, both East Coast, West Coast, and sailors that were out in the fleet. Had a lot of guys that were fresh out of boot camp, you know, just green as grass as they could be. Pulling them together, really it gave us a pride in it.
It's good to be on the ship. It's good to be part of the history of the ship that my father was on. And I put a lot of pride in the work that I've done on board.
Proud of it? You bet. You bet. He's done an extreme amount of growing. Came in a boy, he's a man.
Don't pollute the world, save the world. First thing Navy.